This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Late Boomers, our podcast guide to creating your third act with style, power, and impact. Hi, I'm Kathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Join us as we bring you conversations with successful entrepreneurs, entertainers, and people with vision who are making a difference in the world.
Everyone has a story, and we'll take you along for the ride on each interview, recounting the journey our guests have taken to get where they are, inspiring you to create your own path to success. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Kathy Worthington. Welcome to the Late Boomers Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Mary Elkins, and boy, do we have someone here with us who's going to give us boomers some great advice about staying younger than our years. Joe Owens, author of Feelin'Groovy, a boomer guide to ageless aging.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Joe has worn so many hats, it's mind-boggling to keep up with him and all that he's done and still doing. From working in music with rock legends like the Rolling Stones, to real estate, to his work as a fiction and nonfiction author, filmmaker, and guru of fitness and aging. Let me say that right, aging agelessly. Welcome, Joe.
Hi, guys. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Great to have you.
What inspired you to write Feelin'Groovy? And what keeps you feeling groovy about life and about yourself?
Well, I ran out of money. I mean, that book had been following me around for a while. In my late 50s, I had a heart thing. My whole life, I had something called SVT, supraventricular tachycardia. And it would make, in a situation like this, my heart would just take off to like 160, 180 beats a minute. And they say it wasn't dangerous, but it made you feel funny and your knees got a little weak. And I had a mild case of it. I mean, I had it since I was 14, but I had a mild case of it. Mine would last 15, 20 minutes. Some poor people, it lasts for like days. But I had an episode that did last for days, which was very disconcerting. And then when they went to fix it, they used the wrong medicine and it got scary. I had a great doctor. After I came out of that whole thing, I said, they want me to take medicine. They want me to be cardiologist. And he said, no. He said, we're going to lift weights. We're going to run. We're going to eat. We're going to sleep. We're going to take care of ourselves. So at 60, I started a fitness plan and started lifting weights and started doing all that stuff. And now here I am 15 years later. But when I started all that stuff, I thought that would be a cool thing to do, to sort of write about this and kind of write about my journey. So that's where it started. The first title for it was actually Running from God. And that's what my son said. He said, you're running from God, aren't you, Dad? I said, oh, yeah, he'll get me eventually, but I'll need to be running to do it. So, but yeah, it started, the sort of whole genesis for the book was when I started working out. I thought, well, I want to keep track of this and see where it ends up. And it's ended up with Feelin'Groovy.
So making notes all along the way and tracking your progress and everything, right?
And also what worked and what didn't, because there's a lot of trial and error with that, what you eat, how much you sleep, all those kind of things. The other interesting thing was that when I got closer to the book in the last sort of year or so, I thought, it might be a good idea to ask baby boomers if this is something they care about. Me writing this book and all. And the book at that point was a workout guide. It was, how many push-ups you should do and, that sort of stuff and a little bit more exercise and diet oriented. And the response I got was amazing because they said, nah, not really what we care about. We want to feel like we used to feel. And how do you do that? And so I, went back and I said, okay, well, I'll throw out these 80 pages. So time to start typing
heartbreaking.
Again. Yeah. But it was a really interesting challenge because, it's one thing to say, you have to stay, and you do have to stay strong. I mean, if you're not strong, you injure yourself as you get older, you trip and you fall, those kind of things. So it is important that you stay strong, and that's why I still lift weights, and it is important that your cardio is good and all those things. But how do you feel groovy? And so that took a little bit of thought. And ultimately, what I came up with was, in order to feel the way you used to feel, a lot of that was you were relevant. You were in the game. You knew what was going on around you. You knew who the actors were. You knew who the rock bands were. You knew, about the new car that came out. You knew all that stuff. And I think there's a tendency as you get older to not. I have a friend who lives in my neighborhood, and all of his cultural references stop at like 1972. We're still talking about Wagon Train and Burt Reynolds and Anne Margaret.
Oh,
and
that's very sad. That means he has no millennials in his life to keep him clued in,
and annoying,
or younger Gen Z. Because now we have to rely on Gen Z to clue us into social media and all that. It's very important, though.
Which then sort of makes it difficult for you to have a conversation with anybody who is not in your circle. And I think the way that you stay on top of things is to talk to people that are younger than you or that know different things than you do. And so that was a big part of Feelin'Groovy. But I also said, look, if you're lifting weights and you feel strong, you feel groovy.
Right.
If you're weak, you don't feel groovy. And if you're constantly coming down with colds or your back hurts or whatever, you don't feel groovy. So if you do those things physically, if you eat well, sleep well, you're not tired, you work out, you take care of your skin, I have a skincare routine. Who would have thought?
Good for you. I do too.
Yeah.
I do. So there you go.
Yeah. But, hello, men out there.
Well, exactly. Otherwise you end up looking at a lizard, especially in the places that I live, because I live in places that have lots of sunshine. So I think.
And you talked about cultural references. When Mary and I started this podcast, it was 5 years ago, almost 5. We're almost at 5. And we said it to people our age that are like our contemporaries. They said, like, what's a podcast? I don't listen to a podcast. I don't even know what a podcast is.
Exactly.
And so we've had to try and get people to listen. And just, how do I listen? I'll send you a link. Just click it and listen to it.
And then we get, how do I click the link?
Well, exactly. And what's the link? And then the next thing you know, somebody in Kazakhstan is stealing all their money. But
true.
I think that feeling part, but it threw me when, when I heard that people say, look, the exercising is good and all that kind of stuff, but how do I feel the way I used to feel?
Yeah.
And
I'm glad you had the right people to ask. You might not have gotten that answer if you asked the wrong people, so that steered you toward. That's really good.
Well, you have a son, right? Or two? You have a son, right?
I have a son. He's 30. He's 30 years old, and so he is my worst critic. It's just, Dad, really, that's not going to work. You have to think, or he'll rhyme off in a sentence how I should market the book. Like the day I showed up with the finished book, he said, "Oh, that's great. You go to social media, and you put that, and you do this, and you go there, and you put that." I'm like, dude, I know it's English because I recognize the words, but I don't recognize that combination of them. What in the world are you talking about? Which is a tough part of being an author these days. Back in the day, I was signed to HarperCollins. I had a publisher. I had an agent. I finished the book. I handed it to them, and then they told me where to go and do interviews. Now you have to do all of it. Not my favorite part.
You do. No, absolutely not. Well, I have to ask you. You mentioned drugs before, and I just kept thinking about my dad when he was 80. He said to me, on good days, I feel I'm 50, and I thought I was really young then, and I thought that's really old, but it truly isn't. But I have to ask you, with all that you said, do you believe in the body's ability to heal itself?
Yes, only. I believe that's what I only believe in. I have a very uncomfortable relationship with pharmaceuticals, because pharmaceuticals don't cure anything. All pharmaceuticals do, and I'm going to caveat this whole thing by saying, please do not watch this podcast and throw all your medicine away.
Right?
Please don't do that.
No.
Please don't do that. But to me, pills only mask symptoms. Pills only treat symptoms. They don't cure diseases, right?
Exactly.
So there's no pill to cure anything that you have. The guys I love are the ones who take Lipitor so they can keep eating cheeseburgers. Like, what is wrong with you? But and that goes right to pain medication for me. I don't take pain medication because
Yeah.
and I have a lot of military friends, and the Marines say that pain is weakness leaving the body. But if something hurts, it means there's something wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you mask the pain, then you don't know whether or not that thing is still wrong with you. So if your back hurts and you take medicine to stop your back from hurting, how do you know that you're not going to go out and hurt your back worse by picking something up that you shouldn't be picking up?
Exactly right.
Which people do.
Which people do. It's crazy. But I think that people tend to rely on drugs to fix everything for them, when in fact, more exercise, more water, better frame of mind, balancing your chakras, getting your kundalini, doing the stuff that your body will heal itself. It really, truly will, if you support it, if you help it. Because we've all heard the stories about people's brains rewiring themselves after they have a head injury. There's some remarkable things to do. So I'm not a pill guy. I don't do that. I take a lot of supplements and vitamins and things like that in an effort to sort of keep the machine working. But again, if you have a car and you never drive it, I don't care how good of a race car it is, you have to drive it. And the same with your body. You have to go for a walk. Put down the potato chips, get off the couch, go for a walk. Do something. Exercise.
Oh, you're making me crave potato chips now.
Yeah, I know.
You shouldn't have mentioned them.
I love potato chips, and I love Coca-Cola too. They are the weekend foods.
I kind of
so you
do too.
You do actually do a little bit of it.
My major problem is that my palate stopped growing at about age 11. So I have no interest in cigars. I have no interest in cigarettes. I have no interest in brown liquor or beer or I have no interest in any of that. Never have. But you give me a cupcake and I'll massacre it. I like cookies, cupcakes, all those kind of things. So that is and you guys know sugar. It's addictive. It's like heroin.
Oh, give me a great chocolate chip cookie.
You bet. And they're everywhere. I mean, it's like cookies and cake and candy is everywhere. Although I'm a chocolate snob, so I won't eat Hershey bars and things like that. If you
don't buy it and bring it in your house, it isn't everywhere. It's not in your house.
And that's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although there's a trick. There's a little trick.
Yeah?
I buy semi-sweet chocolate chips, the Ghirardelli semi-sweet chocolate chips, and I put them in the freezer. And
that's what I do.
Well, when I want some chocolate, I'll eat one or two of them. Because
one or two, you don't eat the whole bag?
I don't. I eat one or two of them. What I found out about cravings for me anyway, and I don't know, but some other people have said, yeah, you're right. When you want potato chips, you don't want a bag of potato chips. You want some potato chips, 2 or 3. You want the grease, you want the salt. So I can eat a couple of potato chips. I can eat a couple because I just want that taste on my tongue. So that was sort of the discipline.
Wow,
I said, okay, you
can way more.
Way more discipline.
Most people cannot eat 2 potato chips because they're made with ingredients that make them addictive. So
That's
you
right.
keep eating them.
Yeah,
But give us some keys to living longer and talk about some strategies for physical and mental wellness.
So my mom, in 1960, had open heart surgery. And she was one of the earliest people in the country to have open heart surgery. Yeah, 1960. She was, I think, 33 when she had it. I have to do the numbers. In any event, they told her that if she did not have the surgery, she'd be dead in 6 months. If she had the surgery, she could live another 2 years. 2 years came and went. 5 years came and went. 10 years came and went. 20 years came and went. And
that
when
was
she had the surgery, well, it worked just fine. But what was interesting about it was that she said to the doctors and nurses and everything, I'll outlive all of you. And so every year, there was a nurse who was a candy striper when she first had the surgery, would send her a Christmas card saying, Merry Christmas, and these are the people in the team that died.
Oh.
So, seriously. In
That's
1998,
interesting.
December of 1998, she got a Christmas card that said, "The last member of your surgical team died." February the 5th, the next year, 39 years to the day of her surgery, she died. And she called me when she got the Christmas
Okay.
card and she said, "I outlived all of them. I told you so." And
It
people
was
used
like
to ask,
permission for her to die, though. That
"You
was
bet."
sad.
And she had a goal. So, but she used to, people would say, "How have you done this? How have you lived 39 years when they gave you 6 months to live?" And she said, "Keep reading." And like, I don't like the alternative. And so she was always very positive. She was also very, very funny. She had great sarcastic sense of humor. But that was sort of in me from the get, like from when I was a little kid. And so I think if you stay positive, just, every morning is a gift. There's a reason why they call it present. And so you get a gift every day. You should be up. You should be happy. You should find things to do. I sort of get it down to people and to passion and to purpose. You have to have things that you love. You have to have lots of friends, and you have to have some reason to keep going. So if you've got those three things in your life, great, fine. You have setbacks. You have setbacks. If you want to know about setbacks, and read a book. The hero is one way, then he's another way, then he has to change, then bad things happen, then good things happen, and in the end he wins, and he gets the girl, and he gets the money, or he gets, whatever. And you're the author of your own book. So don't quit the book halfway through. Just
absolutely
keep going. So, I think that's it. And, plus take care of yourself.
absolutely.
I never smoked, barely drank. Like I said, I was more interested in cupcakes. I worry about how much I weigh. I worry about how I look. I care about that stuff. So I think that's, if you always have a goal. And also, I think the best advice I can give is you need a really long to-do list, because you can't die until you've done everything on your to-do list. So just keep adding
so you have to
things
keep
to your
making
to-do
it
list.
longer. Yeah.
Keep making your to-do list longer. You'll live forever.
I love that. That's great. I think I'll start it today.
So that's why all the people in history haven't been living forever. They didn't have that list. Well, I'm just teasing you.
No,
it's true.
If Alexander the Great had a longer list,
maybe
his problem was conquer. He did it, and he was.
Yeah, you should have come out west.
More countries. We needed more countries.
Yeah. So you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but how would you advise baby boomers to reframe aging?
I think, and this sounds goofy, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Just
forget about it.
It's a calendar. It's a clock. It's, what's funny is that most people think I'm younger than I am, because I do care about, I'm like baseball hat, sunglasses, and a couple of people have said, "You don't walk like an old man." I don't know what that means, but you have bounce in your step and all that. What's funny is that I'll be out doing something at a park or a dog park or whatever, and some guy will bend over to pick up the ball to throw for his dog, and he'll like grunt or make some kind of noise or something, and I'll kind of laugh. And I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Oh man, when you're my age," and it's really, how old are you? 62. Like,
and you tell him how old you are?
Well, I usually say I have ties older than you. But yeah, then I tell him how old I am. I'm like, "Dude, I'm 75. Oh, you don't look 75. Yeah, and I don't feel 75 either, but I don't think about being 75. I don't wake up in the morning and go, "Oh, I'm 75. So there's only certain things I can do. I'm 75, so I better not lift weights. Oh, I'm 75. So if you put those kind of restrictions on yourself, I'm this, so I can't do that. And I've always had I think it's partly my authority issues. Anytime somebody, like if you wanted me to do something, my mom knew this. If she wanted me to do something, tell me not to do it. Don't you rake that yard.
Reverse psychology.
Don't you rake that yard.
Don't you dare rake those leaves. But I think that the best advice that I can give people is two things. Number one, don't restrict yourself based on the fact that you think you're old, or you think you're sick, or you think you're, whatever. And the other thing is, you're dead a long time. So live every minute, because you have plenty. I see people sleeping in the middle of the day. Dude, you got plenty of time to sleep when the lights go out for the last time. Plenty of time. So, if you kind of keep those two things in mind, don't restrict yourself. And remember, at some point, you're going to cross over to see all those dogs you had when they were alive. So, yeah.
Yes.
So, that's the only dogs. Well, that's the only reason I want to go, to the other side, because I want to see my dogs. Although, like my grandfather, he used to say, I don't want to go to heaven. I won't know anybody. I kind of feel the same way. But no, I think the best advice is don't restrict yourself. Just go ahead. Don't think about, I'm this age, so I can't do that. And just remember that, while you're going, go. While you're here, enjoy every minute of it. Because, at some point, your ride is over. And so, that.
It's a ride.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's a ticket ride. It's a real good Disney ride. It's a lot of fun. You guys remember Hunter S. Thompson, the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and wrote all those crazy. Okay. So Hunter Thompson said that the point of life is not to arrive at the grave in this pristine body, really sort of well taken care of, everything real nice. It's to kind of slide sideways on a motorcycle drunk, in a cloud of dust and craziness with, wow, what a wild ride. That was great. That's kind of the point. If you're going to live life, live it.
With a perfect body.
If you want to keep going, then you got to
kind of the name of the game.
I can. Yeah.
Well, on that note, what's the right kind of exercise to stay ageless?
So, you should keep your abilities in mind when you exercise, because I exercise pretty much the same as I did when I started at around age 60, and I worked out before that. But at 60, I started paying attention. You do lighter weights with more reps. So, you have to remember what lifting weights is all about. The whole point of lifting weights is you're pushing your muscles to do something. You get these sort of minute microscopic muscle tears when you lift weights, and then your body rebuilds that muscle. So it fixes the tears, and so you get more muscle. That's the reason why, the muscles get bigger and the muscles get, hard and stuff like that. So, but you need to keep in mind that my son, for example, can deadlift 275 pounds.
Wow.
And he's not a big time weightlifter. I mean, he's healthy, but he can deadlift 275 pounds. Doing that kind of lifting now for me or for anybody, 60 plus, can have consequences. But if you do 20 repetitions of a 20-pound weight instead of 5 repetitions of a 50-pound weight, you're better. So I think you tailor your workouts for those things that your body wants to do. So more repetitions with lighter weight, because all you want to really do now is tone. I'm never going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I do want to keep my muscles toned.
And you probably don't want to look like that.
I don't think so.
You have to kill yourself to do it. It would be terrible.
And you have to take a lot of steroids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yuck. But what about meditation and quieting the mind?
Really, really important. And, I mentioned earlier when I chatted, I mentioned chakras and things like that. And it could be anything. I mean, as you can tell, I'm a little bit, quick, and I'm not the best meditator to sort of sit quietly in a room. Plus the fact that the minute I sit on the floor, the dogs are all over me.
Right,
so, hey, Dad's on the floor. It must be playtime. But I can get into a meditative groove on a treadmill. I can get into a meditative groove when I'm running. I run outside. I'm not really the treadmill guy when I run, because I like, the bunnies and squirrels and trees and things like that. And I like that feeling of doing, but you can get into so anything that you can do repetitively, you can get yourself into sort of a meditative groove. But sometimes it's just turn off the stereo, turn off the TV, turn off the phone, and just sit with your own thoughts for 5 minutes. And people very, very seldom do that these days.
And
Very
breathe.
seldom do they just kind of sit and breathe. I learned how to do that, deep breathing. You push your belly out when you inhale, like babies breathe. Like babies naturally breathe the way we're supposed to. They don't inflate their lungs when they inhale. They push out their belly when they inhale. And which is sort of yoga breathing. It's what you should do. Or just read a book. Don't listen to the book. Don't read it on a tablet. Get paper and sit down and read a book. Anything, as you say, just things to quiet your mind and calm yourself down and slow your heart rate.
I love that.
Yeah, I believe in that. I'm a meditator. I meditate right when I wake up. I just prop up the pillows and sit up and do it first.
Yeah, I do it too.
That's a great way to. That's a great way to start your day, I think.
It is. And I do it in the morning, but I'm like you. I can't sit still. I'm always like moving, always raring to go. And when can I get outside? And so it takes more effort to quiet yourself than it does if you're a very calm person. But
it sets the tone for the day. It makes you feel better and more together. And, then, it's a great way to start the day.
Yeah, I think meditation, though, sometimes gets a bad rap in the sense that people have an expectation that you have to be sitting quietly to do it, and you can do that. Or, I mean, when you're on a bicycle out riding on a trail someplace in the woods, it's the same. But I tell people, and this is something that I tell older people when they ride bicycles, and it makes me crazy. Do not ride a bicycle with AirPods in your ears or headphones on your head, because you can't hear what's going on around you.
That's right.
And, if you're out there listening to Metallica at full volume, pedaling like crazy, you're going to get hit by a truck.
That's right.
That's for the treadmill.
Yeah, that's for the treadmill. That's when someplace where you're not in jeopardy. But if you're like I like to ride out in the woods and things like that on a trail bike. But you take the headphones out and just ride through, and it's you hear the birds and you hear sort of what's going on around you, and that's as meditative, I think, an experience as you can have.
Yeah, and the other thing I think people beat themselves up because they say, "Well, my mind doesn't get quiet when I sit quietly." Of course, your mind doesn't get quiet; it's just going all over the place. But that's fine. That's what you do for 20 minutes. It doesn't matter what you're thinking about. You just can bring it back to your breathing and just keep meditating.
A guy once told me a great meditative trick. And because of that, I think because all of us, I'm going to meditate now. I have to pay the bills. I have to do the laundry. The car's got to go in the dentist on Tuesday. So all of a sudden your mind, instead of suddenly becoming Gandhi, it just becomes that to-do list we talked about. But this guy said, okay, so here's how you meditate. And I do this when I actually sit down to sort of quietly balance chakras and do that kind of cool stuff. He said, just close your eyes and visualize a ball sitting on a table. And then lift the ball with your mind. Just raise it up a little bit, and then stop. And then turn the ball around to your right with your mind. Turn the ball around with your left. Make the ball go to the left. And it's remarkable the focus that you get.
So nice.
I like that.
Cool. Yeah, it's great, and it really is. And you get, because you're doing a task, you're doing something. You have to work at it, but and you just visualize the ball, and it works like a charm. And
I
all
just
that
did
other
that.
stuff.
While you were talking, I just did it, and I felt this calm come over me. It's amazing.
The distractions don't distract you. Like your mind, because you cannot multitask. Like people say they multitask. It's impossible. You can't do it. You can change really quickly. but you cannot actually multitask. But I find that when I'm doing that with the ball, it's very, very peaceful. But I can't think of anything else, because the fear is that the minute you think of something else, you're going to drop the ball.
Yeah.
Because as soon as something else comes on, the ball goes plunk back down to the table. So it's like, okay, pick it up again.
I'd like to shift gears a bit and go to something really loud, because I'm kind of a fan, a music fan, and I know that you worked with the Stones and Paul Simon and Bruce Springsteen, among many, and I'd love to hear stories about them, and I'm sure our audience would, when you were working in the music business, and maybe something else that might surprise us.
Well, you can tell that from the Rolling Stones that old age doesn't really have to hold you back.
That's right.
Still,
I heard Mick Jagger runs like 5 miles a day.
Yeah, he does. I mean, Mick is a wonder. He's guy's a national treasure. I started in the music business and sort of promoting records and I was the guy that took the records around to the radio stations. And I was like a teenager. I mean, I was out doing this, and I took the records around the radio station, asked them to play them, and then that morphed into working right after college. And when I got out of college, I was going to be a writer. That was it. I was going to write full time. That was that. But I loved music, and I always played in bands and did things like that. And I got an offer from a record company to come and work for them, and I couldn't turn it down. And so a record company, and like right out of the box, I'm working with Kiss and Donna Summer and the Village People and, all these big groups. And when I say with work with, I was taking the records to the radio stations to get played. And then when the band would come into town to perform a concert, I'd be the guy who would meet them at the airport, take them around to the radio stations to do the interviews, and then hang around to sound and all that kind of stuff. And what that turned into, as I went through that for years and years, I'm managing some bands, but I was always one-on-one with the artists. Then I got into the concert promotion business, working with a concert promoter. So I was always, once again, the guy who met with the bands, did the press conferences, took them around to do the interviews. Then I got into the corporate sponsorship business. So I became the bridge between corporate America and rock and roll. And I did $400 million worth of those deals. So the Rolling Stones and Budweiser and Paul Simon and American Express and then got hired by those companies to be the one who went out and got them events, tours to sponsor and things like that. But I was always working directly with the bands. And Bruce Springsteen, just as regular guys you can imagine, Rolling Stones, great guys. Now, but again, I wasn't their friend, and we didn't like hang out or go to parties at their house or anything. It was business, but I was working one-on-one and got to know them. And Mick was a consummate businessman. Keith was just a real good mate to hang out with, and he would just sit down and talk about stuff. And Steve Tyler from Aerosmith, he would run the mezzanine at a concert venue after the soundtrack. He would do laps around the sort of mezzanine level of the concert hall, when we were playing like the big stadiums and things like that. And he used to like to get somebody to run with him. So I did a tour with the band, and so I ran some laps, and he'd run like 9,000 laps, and it was like a long run. So there'd constantly be people kind of, jumping in to run 3 laps with him, and then they'd go off and do something else. But
that's great.
That was great. But and rock stars take care of themselves. Because touring is brutal. Touring is an absolutely horrible, difficult thing to do, because you're constantly in that groove. You're up in the morning, you're on an airplane, you're flying someplace, off the plane, you're dehydrated on the airplane. The food is irregular at best. So they really have to pay attention. And when you read those stories about the concert rider that has very specific stuff in the dressing room, well, it's not because they're being prima donnas, it's because the food that's around them needs to not be like M&Ms and cupcakes.
I don't know. There were a few riders where people said M&Ms, but no brown ones and stuff like that. You heard those.
That was Van Halen, yeah, and they did that.
Yeah.
They did that to goof on people. It was fun, but they did. They did pay attention to what they ate. The Rolling Stones were funny because you go into Mick's dressing room, and there'd be tea and incense and a vaporizer and a yoga mat and soft music. And you'd go into Keith's dressing room and there'd be 6 cartons of Marlboros and 12 bottles of Jack Daniels.
Oh,
It was,
geez.
you know, yeah, but
I know, and they're both
And he's
still
still
going
here.
strong.
still
He's
going
outlived
strong.
everybody else.
Well, what's the joke that the millennials have to worry about what kind of world they're going to leave for Keith Richards? But
Oh, geez.
Oh, God.
But,
That's great. I love that.
think that I loved working in that business. I worked for a concert company, which is how I actually ended up working with all these bands, because it was a company that was across Canada. So I was in Toronto, but I was somehow involved in all these things. And when the bands came to Toronto, I was the guy who spent time with them. Then, you know, my team sort of worked across the country. Then the guy who owned that company started something they called 365-degree tours, which was he would buy all of the rights from the band, the T-shirt rights, the concert rights, the broadcast rights, everything. And he'd give them in advance. So he'd give the Rolling Stones $50 million, like a check. Here's $50 million. And then it would be our job to recover all that money through various revenue streams. So that was U2, and that was David Bowie, and that was Paul Simon, that was the Rolling Stones. But what I found in the main, you know, you hear all these stories about rock bands are self-destructive, crazy people who do nothing but drugs all the time. That's a percentage of them, and it's probably the same percentage as the general population. But most of these people know it's their job. And if they mess up, they're not going to eat. And so if you want to have a long career, and so much of this sort of, you know, rock and roll lifestyle thing was overblown. It was just PR.
What of all those times, what do you think was the most fun that you had with somebody or one of the groups?
Right.
I played golf with Alice Cooper.
I've heard he loves that.
Great golfer.
Yeah.
Great golfer.
I heard that too.
Yeah, Charlie Daniels.
Yeah.
Charlie Daniels band. I played golf with Charlie Daniels.
Oh, I love him.
Bruce Springsteen. We had a big party for Bruce Springsteen after his concert, and Bruce was sort of South Jersey, and when I was that sort of teenager, you know, early 20s, I was in that area as well, and I was also playing in bands. And it turned out that Springsteen and I had a couple of friends in common. So we actually sat there for like 20 minutes and had a conversation about the old days playing in bars in Jersey, which was cool. But Phil Collins was just I introduced Phil Collins to Cher. I was working on the Billboard Music Awards, and Phil had never met Cher. And Cher was big, and Cher was wearing like high-heeled stuff like that, and Phil was not big. And so I came up, and he was like a little kid. I mean, it was like introducing a 5-year-old to Santa Claus. He was just a huge fan. And so, and I knew him and the Genesis guys pretty well because I knew the manager pretty well. And so I brought him up and I stayed back, and here's Cher way up here, and here's, you know, Phil down here. But generally, rock stars are very nice people when they feel safe. Like when you're backstage or you're behind the curtain with them, they can sort of drop all of it and they feel safe, and the security's there, and so they're not afraid. They're just afraid. They're afraid of the photographers. They're afraid of, you know, crazy people. And so
they found you extremely approachable and all that, so that's why they could open up with you. That's great.
I was the money and the promo guy, so they knew that I was the guy who was going to get them on the radio, and I was the guy who was going to get them a couple of $1 million from Budweiser. And the funniest thing though is that people ask me about pictures. You know, well, you must have a lot of great pictures. I don't have any pictures. I have 2 pictures. I have a picture of me with Tom Jones, and I have a picture of me with the Pointer Sisters. I don't have any other pictures. And the reason I don't have any other pictures, especially on the concert promotion side, is that the minute I became a fan, I couldn't be the business person anymore.
Yeah.
And so I would have broken down that, you know, that relationship that we had as sort of business professionals. But I would always get, you know, the sponsor vice president to get his picture taken, or the, you know, the radio station guy. I always make sure that those people got those souvenir pictures. But you know, if I had to prove that I had that career by pictures, I can't do that.
Well,
I don't have any evidence.
Tell us what key lessons you learned about life and success from being in the music world, and how can business entrepreneurs apply rock star thinking to their careers to help them stand out?
Funny you should ask. New book.
New book.
The Rockstar Real Estate Agent. Real estate agent.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
The idea for real estate agents or anybody in any kind of business, the reason why rock stars are successful, the reason why musicians are successful, Dolly Parton, Rolling Stones, Metallica, whoever, they find a niche. They find a thing that is unique to them. They perfect that niche. And they attract people, and they take care of those people, and they take care of that niche, and they protect it, and they don't veer into another lane. They establish who they are. They develop a reputation for that. The real estate agent book just basically says, look, guys, real estate agents always say everybody is my customer. Everybody who can buy a house is my customer. That's not true. And the lady who wrote the foreword for the book specializes in mid-century modern. So if you specialize in mid-century modern, you specialize in beachfront homes, you specialize whatever. And that goes for anything. If you do podcasts about baby boomers, if you do podcasts about bowling, and you guys would have no following, you'd have no reputation if this week it was baby boomers, and next week it's bowling, and next week it's cooking, and next week it's fishing, because people wouldn't seek you out for that information about that specific thing. So I think anybody in business, you find something, and also that thing that resonates, that thing that you love. The girl who does mid-century modern houses loves mid-century modern houses. So that's her passion. So the thing that I learned from all those years in that business is find that thing that resonates with you and be as good at it as you can. Stay in your lane. Just whatever that is, stay in your lane and make that, and you can have a lifelong career. Because people who jump from career to career to career, they're in their 60s and they're still trying to find customers. And they're still out there grinding to lead generate. And it's crazy. If they had done something in their 30s and stayed with it, they would know everybody in the business, and business would come to them. So I think if there's one thing that I learned in my 100 years of life, is that find something, and in my world, the thing that I found was that I'm good at telling stories. So whether it's writing books or whether it's going to Budweiser and telling them the story of how sponsoring the Rolling Stones tour is going to sell them boatloads of beer. So I was, as a salesperson, I was always couching my sales pitches in stories. Instead of giving them statistics and numbers and things like that, I would always be starting out my sales pitches with, imagine the lights go down, the music plays a little bit, the band comes on stage, the lights come on, and everybody, and when you tell the story that way to the product manager selling Budweiser beer, he's experiencing what his sponsorship is going to be, not getting a statistical analysis of, what the return is going to be on his investment.
I love that.
Find your passion and just live it and perfect it. And that's what rock stars do. That's how they become famous.
That's great. That's great.
Because you've seen when they've gone off track. I mean, U2 did Zeropa, and it was a terrible album, and their fans stuck with them. But or who in the world thought it was a good idea for Aerosmith to rap?
Right.
But you would never confuse Bruce Springsteen with Metallica, and you'd never confuse Metallica with Justin Bieber, and you'd never confuse Dolly Parton with Lady Gaga. You know exactly who they are. And when I just said those names, you can hear their music in your head. So find something you're good at, develop a reputation, and you'll be having a good time.
So what advice would you give
Mary and me?
Right. So what advice would you give to someone entering the music and film business about managing their mental and physical wellness? It's a very high stress environment.
It really is. I could run and get another book if you want.
That's okay. Tell us.
No,
I
just talk.
I did a book last year
Just
called
talk
Madhouse.
because we're mostly audio. I mean, I know we could see each other, but
I did a book last year called Madhouse, and it was again for real estate agents, and it's basically about the mental health struggles that people in business and in life go through. And it was a little bit of sort of self-help of, there's loneliness and isolation and anxiety and all those things that we all go through. It really goes back when you're working music and movies. Now for me, I wrote movies for a long time and I wrote books for a long time, but I'm now getting into the producer side and producers basically raise money. That's basically the job is raising money for films to be made. And so I'm doing something new, which is fun. But I think authenticity is the key there. I think you have to really take a minute, sit down. Who am I? What do I care about? How do I present myself? And really figure out who you are, and then be that person through thick and thin. Because the music business is full of people that are always playing a part, whether they're actors or whether they're business people. They're always changing, being a chameleon. They're changing to fit in, and that gets old for people sometimes when they don't know who you're going to be the next time they talk to you on the phone. And if you're constantly trying to say the things that you think they want to hear, you don't really develop a reputation for standing for anything. And I think anybody who is going to be in those businesses in particular, you need to be authentic. You need to figure out, who am I? What am I doing? And so they get the same version of you every time you show up, and people respect you.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about reinvention, if you don't mind. I just am curious about reinventing yourself, because what would you advise somebody who wants to be looking to make a change in their lives, whether they're old or young?
The key to that, I think, again, is what I just said. You're not reinventing yourself. I think the key to the reinvention thing is all you're doing is learning a new set of information. That's all it is. I have been the same person doing the same thing for my entire adult life. And whether it was promoting records, whether it was working in video games, whether it was working in real estate, whether it was, working in sports. I mean, I worked in minor league baseball for like 10 years, whether it's writing books, whatever it is, I've always been the same guy. And all I've done is replaced a body of knowledge about music with a body of knowledge about video games, with a body of knowledge about sports. But all the things that I've gotten involved in, I never sold photocopiers. I never got involved with something that I didn't like. So I always made sure that I like baseball, I like video games, I like music, I like movies, I like writing. So I think if you're going to reinvent yourself, find something that ignites your passion. Find something that maybe it goes back to passion, purpose, and people. Find something where you can continue to work with some of the people that you've developed. Like, lots of my music business people came with me to video games. Lots of my video game people came with me to sports, because they were marketing people, they were press people, they were, relationships with television stations, radio stations, all that. So I was just showing up with another story about another new thing, saying, okay, well, I'm not doing music anymore. Now I'm doing video games, but it's entertainment, and you're an entertainment editor at a newspaper, so let's do that. And then I'd go back to my entertainment editor at the newspaper and say, give me the sports guy or girl. Who's the sports person I should talk to at the newspaper? So you get those people around you, and you mind those people, and you sort of keep those relationships going. And all you're doing is, it's like wearing a blue jacket, then a black jacket, then a green jacket. All you're doing is changing clothes.
Yeah.
Sounds
Well,
good.
Joe, what would you like our Late Boomers podcast audience to have as a great takeaway today?
I think the, the title of the book is Feelin'Groovy. And I think what I would like everybody who is looking and listening at this is just take a breath and take a beat, realize what a wonderful gift it is for you to be wherever you are in life. Just enjoy it. Quit worrying about stuff. Mark Twain said that people spend most of their time worrying about things that never happen. One of the things that came up when I talked to boomers about, this book and everything is that, well, why should we exercise? I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and have some terrible disease, or I'm going to this, or I'm going to fall down. Whatever. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just enjoy your life for as long as the ride continues, and then be able to sort of leave it with a smile on your face and a bunch of people who will miss you when you're gone, but will tell stories about you. That Native Americans have a phrase they use when somebody passes on. They say they've become legend. And I think it's great. I think you just want to do things that people will think fondly of you after you're gone, and tell stories about you, and hopefully embellish the story so that suddenly you're Superman.
I love that. Thank
fabulous.
you, Joe. That's great. We all are a legend to ourselves, and hopefully the people that we love will pass it on. Thank you. Well, our guest today on Late Boomers has been Joe Owens, who is a true Renaissance man. He's a storyteller, a musician and film maven, and a man who knows how to enjoy life. You can reach out to Joe via his website, joeowensbooks.com. Is that right, Joe?
That's right. And joeowensbooks@gmail.com is the email. And I'd love to hear from people.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, please tell your friends, our listeners I'm talking to now, tell your friends about our Late Boomers podcast, and visit our new website, lateboomers.us. It's us, where you can easily see all our episodes and find an interview that resonates with you. Join us next week. We'll be talking with another exciting guest. We're on Instagram at I am Kathy Worthington and at I am Mary Elkins and at Late Boomers. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We do appreciate our listeners, and thank you to Joe Owens today.
Yes,
thanks so much.
you.
It was a lot of fun.
It was great fun. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Late Boomers, the podcast that is your guide to creating a third act with style, power, and impact. Please visit our website and get in touch with us at lateboomers.us if you would like to listen to or download other episodes of Late Boomers. Go to ewnpodcastnetwork.com.
This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most other major podcast sites. We hope you make use of the wisdom you've gained here and that you enjoy a successful third act with your own style, power, and impact.